Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Kalamazoo City Commission meeting of the Committee of the Whole of Monday, July 19, 2021. I'm Deputy City Manager Jeff Chamberlain, and tonight's Kalamazoo City Commission meeting is being streamed live on the City of Kalamazoo's YouTube page, as well as the City of Kalamazoo's Facebook page. You can listen in to tonight's meeting by calling area code 269-552-6425 and entering meeting ID number 983-2237-8347 when prompted. You can also leave a public comment for tonight's meeting by calling area code 269-226-6573. And I'd like to turn tonight's meeting over to Mayor David Anderson.
Thank you very much, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain. I appreciate it, and welcome everyone to our Monday, July 19th, 2021 Committee of the Whole meeting. This is a public Zoom meeting. Perhaps we're getting to the end of these here in the not too distant future. As much as it's nice to see everybody's faces on the screen, I think it'll be much nicer to see each other in person. So that is one of the things we'll be talking about tonight. Clerk Borling, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Cunningham.
Here in the great city of Kalamazoo.
Commissioner Hess.
Also here in the great city of Kalamazoo.
Commissioner Knott. Commissioner Pradle.
Present in the city of Kalamazoo.
Commissioner Urban. Vice Mayor Griffin.
Here in the city of Kalamazoo.
Mayor Anderson.
Here in the city of Kalamazoo. And commissioners, may we have a motion to excuse Commissioner Knott and Commissioner Urban?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Cunningham, supported by Commissioner Hess. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Commissioners are excused. City Manager Ritzma, any special communications tonight?
Nothing, Mayor.
And Deputy City Manager Chamberlain, are there any public comments for this meeting?
I believe we do, and we'll go ahead and play those, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. One moment, please.
Tamara Mitchell from Kalamazoo for the Committee of the Whole regarding the City Clerk's Office and the City Budget. On September 21st, 2020, this body accepted funds, approved a budget amendment, and authorized the City Clerk to sign documents for $218,869 for funds originating from Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. These funds were extended under the pretext of filling a budget shortfall in the City Clerk's office, but serves as a backdoor vehicle to co-administrate the city election. I call upon this body to amend Section 39 of the Kalamazoo City Charter to prohibit the use of monies originating from third parties in city elections. The city must end its current arrangement that allows big tech funders to act as co-administrators of city elections. The 2020 adopted and adjusted budget numbers do not reflect the funds received from Mark Zuckerberg. Thus, I also call upon the city auditor and city manager to perform an audit of the city clerk budget to ensure that public monies are not being commingled with funds from third parties, that all transactions related to the November 2020 election are accounted for and accurate, and to issue an audit report of the findings. Also, acceptance of these funds obligates election officials to be disloyal to the public trust by providing information on how the particular election agenda of the funders is impacting the voters. This body has not received permission from the voters to engage in this information sharing. The information big tech funders require of the city falls under the restrictions of the Freedom of Information Act, 5 U.S.C. Section 552. Thus, the city of Kalamazoo was ineligible to receive these third-party funds because the stipulation of accepting the funds required the city clerk's office to repeatedly violate FOIA. The funds must be returned to Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you for your time.
My name is Mark Cry. I live in Kalamazoo. In fact, I live right on the North Mall, and it's because of what's happening on the North Mall that I'm calling. We have been here for 13 years. We have recognized and actually befriended a number of the homeless people that are there. but there's been a dramatic change in what's happening. We've got a lot of people on the mall that are there not only through the day, but also through the night. And it is becoming what we perceive to be very dangerous. We need the city commission to think about regulation of how that can be taken care of. And we also are very, very anxious to support the police, who are trying their best to maintain order and safety downtown, but are frustrated because so much of what they do has been set aside. Please, please lift this up as a very important issue, not only for those of us that live here, but for the entire mall itself, the safety, and also for the strength of the city as a whole. Thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.
Hello there, City Commissioners. My name is Carla, and I live in the city downtown on the North Mall in a condo. My reason for addressing all of you is the situation that we all have to endure, that those of us that are tax-paying residents of the city on the north end of the mall has become extremely dire this spring and summer. It's a combination of lots of vagrants and criminal activity and problems surrounding our condominium. Lots of thoughts as to why that is. I happen to personally feel that there's just way too many programs in the city of Kalamazoo that invite migration of homeless people to our city, and it's overwhelming our little city. The overflow seems to take up loitering on the mall, and no one wants to do anything about it. It's overrun. And I'm really wanting the outlets on the North Mall removed, and even the park benches for a while, to give us relief from constant people living in our end of the mall. It is a deterrent for visitors. It makes it hard for us to just have a quality of life here, and we actually pay to live here. I would really love it if this could be addressed, and I'm kind of getting the feeling that maybe the city doesn't really care. Maybe it's just that they don't know how bad it's gotten, and we would like something done.
Hi, my name is Ruth Garcia. I do not live within the city limits. I am the Restorative Practices Community Liaison at Griffin Place, as well as a TRHT Law Design team member, ALPAC, Isaac GVI team member, and I am on the advisory board with the Brown and Black Therapy Collective. I'm calling in to request that the city continue to provide accessible means of connecting to meetings. I, for example, am a mother of 3, a student, and work part-time. Having accessibility through virtual means or phone line means is extremely important in making this process accessible to all. Secondly, I'd also like to lift the economic development processing that's going to be talked about at the meeting today. And I think this is extremely important, and I'm excited to see this for the city. However, I hope there's more dialogue around how to reduce violence. Simply put, it doesn't matter how great a business looks if people don't feel safe to venture it. Right now, we're losing life, but we're also losing prosperity. I hope the city can continue to talk about that as well. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great evening.
Mr. Mayor, that was the last public comment for this meeting.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain. I want to thank everyone who took the time and made the effort to call in and leave your thoughtful comments for us this evening. It's very much appreciated. Next is a review of items on upcoming City Commission agendas. Is that you, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain?
Yes, sir. Just to talk briefly about our Committee of the Whole meeting for your next meeting in 2 weeks. We are going to talk a little bit further about some topics relating to economic development tax abatements. And then we also have the stimulus funds discussion that we need to have ongoing. We did have a public survey that was out there, and that just ended this weekend. And so we're compiling information, and we will have more information to bring to you in 2 weeks about that process. And then for tonight, we do have a number of things on your regular meeting that begins at 7 o'clock. There are a number of ongoing purchasing items, some very large items for the wastewater treatment plant. including large expenditures on upgrading the electrical system there and some improvements related to odor mitigation, of which Director Baker will be giving an update regarding that quarterly report of activities going on at the wastewater reclamation plant as well as Graphic Packaging International. We do have a proclamation at the very beginning of the meeting honoring Dr. Marilyn Schlack. And so a great leader and loss in our community, but somebody who touched so many lives. And then also a few other things that don't come up very often, the memorandum of understanding with Charleston Township, kind of modifying how we're providing wastewater treatment services for them. And then modifying the agreement that we have with Public Media Network, just some housekeeping to remove the city of Portage, which is no longer part of that group, and adding the city of Galesburg, which is coming into that group. And then there's also an acceptance of a grant from the Justice Department, the Justice Assistance Grant. And so that will be on your consent agenda tonight too. And then finally, on your regular agenda, we have the obligation of the capital improvement bonds. So that is going forward on your regular agenda. And then there's two ordinances that came for first reading at your last meeting, one regarding all-terrain vehicles on the roadways, and then the second about the ability to use fireworks for the Juneteenth holiday. And finally, there is a resolution amending your calendar to continue the committee of the whole meetings. So, and that is all, sir.
Thank you very much for your preview, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain. I appreciate that. Now to the heart of our Committee of the Whole work session here. So we have first a presentation by some great city staff. I know that they will have some documents they're going to want to share on the screen, I believe, and we're going to follow that up with a discussion about our return to in-person meetings, what that might look like. So I will turn it over to you. I presume, Director Kick, you are going ahead with this presentation.
Thank you so much, Mayor Anderson and City Commissioners, Vice Mayor. Tonight, I am so excited to be able to introduce to you our Community Investment Manager, Antonio Mitchell, as well as Melody Dakin, who works as our business specialist in the neighborhoods. And they're going to give you an overview of what the Business Development Fund, which has been established for a couple years now, has been hard at work doing, and really good highlights of what we hope to continue to do in 2022. So I'm going to go ahead and over to Antonio and Melody, and I'm going to go share my screen so you can see. There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners, and City Manager for letting us pretty much give a presentation here. I'll be doing the presentation. Ms. Dakin is here to assist me to answer questions that you may have. And she is over the Business Development Fund that we'll be talking about and this Economic Development Initiative that we're pretty much going through with you and the community to understand what we're doing here in economic development and why we're using these dollars in this way. And these dollars come from the FFE, Financial Excellence, and we want to thank them for assisting us with growth and development in this area of economic development. They have been a great partner with us with this new investment that we're providing to the community. So Rebecca is controlling the slide, so I'll say next slide, Rebecca. So big key for the community and for Commission, the Economic Development Initiative. You know, what are we trying to do in economic development history? So what we're trying to do with this initiative, what we're doing with economic development and with this business development fund is really focus on small business development, businesses less than 50 people, and streamlining it down even to micro businesses, businesses less than 10 employees for economic impact in the community. Our focus is retention and expansion with using these dollars to help business growth and development. We're looking at trying to really enhance the ability of our businesses in our neighborhoods, in our corridor, in our downtown, really focus on location development and investment with these dollars. We have a people focus here. We're trying to change people's lives with these dollars, hopefully one household at a time as we look at other project growth and development. And now that we're not using these dollars in this area of this new industry of cannabis, the cannabis industry, but there will be discussion of, how are you going to work with the cannabis community, especially through economic development in the future, and we'll be coming back in the future to talk about that more. But we also want to focus on workforce development and assisting these small businesses that have 10 employees or less, or 50 or less. That's part of the initiative too. In the history with economic development, we've had a little bit of a shotgun approach in the sense that we are open to other aspects that come our way and we respond. We're being more proactive now in initiating some of these initiatives and not just responding to quote unquote the market. We're trying to react to the needs of the community specifically. And so we'll be focusing on more than just BRA, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority sites that you've seen in the past that the economic development really focus on, which has been great, and we're still doing that. But there's more to quote unquote economic development than just Brownfield redevelopment. Next slide. So currently, this is the staff we have right now. You see Melanie that's here tonight, of course, myself, Paul Thurnringer, who's development project coordinator, who focuses on project development, and then Jamie Marsman, who is pretty much our spoke in the wheel that keeps us going round and round to make sure we're covering all the things we need to cover on a daily basis. Next slide. So as I stated, where we came from and where we're going is two different initiatives. Where we're going is small business growth and development, specifically in our neighborhoods, really specific in our shared prosperity Kalamazoo neighborhoods. And those areas for the public is North Side, Edison, and East Side. And so we have specific things we're trying to do to enhance the corridor development and redevelopment of those areas and really investment into the families that want to either workforce development, so that's part of economic development, but also economic development in the sense of entrepreneurship. And so we're going to try to create different tools to assist individuals that may have a couple part-time jobs to turn that one of those part-time jobs into a business. And if we can do that, I think we'll change the arc of not only that individual, but hopefully possibly their family as well. Next slide, please. So what is Business Development Fund? Pretty much the Business Development Fund was created around 2.5, 3 years ago to create an incentive to help small businesses grow in the city of Kalamazoo. We didn't have any incentive packages to really work from to assist small business growth and development. So the city took upon asking the FFE to give us some pilot money here so we initiate and see how we can do this. And that's how it started. It started as an initiative, as a pilot to see, is there a need? And what we found out, not only is there a need, that there's other opportunities, just not a need, but other opportunities that we're trying to move for. So that's why it was created, to create that incentive tool to work with business development here in the city. Next slide, please. So past business development funds. So funds in the past, 2 years ago, was really focused on technical assistance, business grants, small business grants, $750, $1,500, things like that to help businesses move, direct, expand their footprint. And one key factor as well with the Business Development Fund, it really focuses on businesses that have been in business for at least 1 year. It could be a little bit less, depending on the circumstances of that growth and development and when the funding request is made. But really, we're trying to focus on businesses that have been established and trying to grow their business. In the past, we have business loans. And in the past, we had the gap financing grants, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So in the past, in a 2-year time frame, we assisted pretty much 75 businesses. We had gap financing, we have facade, and facade is for individuals in the community, is working on the front of the building, similar to this. This would be the facade, this picture is working on that. And then we had small business grants that work for business growth and development. And we had in that 2-year time period, around almost $700,000 that was pretty much put into the community with that program. Present. Oh, next, I hit my space bar. Next, next slide. And so, where are we at now? What has changed? What has grown? So pretty much we measured what who we were impacting, what we were doing, and we made some adjustments. And pretty much the adjustments was we kept the technical assistance grant. We increased the amount of that grant as well to assist, because we found out that the funding that we had wasn't as effective as we needed it to be to really help businesses get what they need to be. Then we kept the facade grant because, of course, we want to keep investing in existing city properties so they're not only getting to their potential, but hopefully beyond their potential with our investment. And then we put in the white box grant, which was the timing of that was perfect because of COVID, because we had some businesses that went out of business. And the white box grant is pretty much funding to assist with build out of the interior of a structure. And so if you had a restaurant, they need to expand and build in there, we can come in and help them with building out and putting in pretty much ovens and hoods and things like that. And so that was significant. And it really helped us out with working with some of our downtown spaces and even outside of our downtown spaces. And you'll see that going forward. And then, of course, we jumped into relationship with United Way, which has been very fruitful for us in the sense of how we work with not only businesses, but also the effectiveness of timing of getting dollars out in a timely fashion to help these small businesses as well. Now, in the case here, this is money for this year. So, $652,000 that was budgeted for this year. We've already spent 600, well, now I won't say spent, we've already committed 631,000, almost 632,000. So we're pretty much 7 months in and our money is pretty much gone. It's been 2 years in a row. I was over the program last year. We got the money out quickly. And so that's why you'll see later why we're increasing our acts and also our initiative for business growth and expansion from communication with these same businesses. And so the program with United Way, as we've talked about and shown before, is you have the loan program, and then you have the Kalamazoo Micro Enterprise Grant, which focuses on less than 10 employees, which is that small business grant of $5,000. And as you can see, this is almost the same amount of money that we spent in 2 years that we've spent. Now I won't say spent again, sorry about that. We'll be getting out into the community this year already in 7 months. And it's really less than 7 months because the commission know you approved the budget in February. So it's pretty much 5 months. This money is out and going. And as we go forward, we'll have even more to announce in that same area, which hopefully everyone's seen in the paper the last 3 or 4 days. Hit my space bar again. Rebecca, next slide. So future, where are we at? Where are we going? So funding right now, as you saw, this is where we're going into 2021 going into 2022, and this is one of 2 slides. Is technical assistance. We're still going to have that, expand that, grow that. Facade grant, real important. This has been impactful. It's going to be more impactful for development we're having on East Main Street that we're working on. That'll be coming back to the commission. That's going to be very nice. We had white box grants, which has been very effective at assisting businesses for build out in downtown and then beyond downtown. And in the case of downtown, in the past, we have not invested in downtown as much as we are lately, mainly because of COVID. And this could change back to us moving out of investing in downtown with economic development dollars. That'll be something we'll bring back to the commission maybe a year and a half from now, depending on funding capabilities of downtown development in their economic initiatives that they're doing. But right now, we're working with downtown to make these investments, but we can make adjustments as we go forward in the future. Then we have business sponsorships, which we want to try to sponsor as many training and opportunities here in Kalamazoo. So we want to see events and trainings going on in Kalamazoo, and we want to be able to sponsor some of those as the city to assist more of those hopefully sponsored trainings and events happening in our downtown, in our Kalamazoo area. And then gap financing, Gap financing was interesting. We made some adjustments to it. We're putting some more money into it just to test the waters. When we had the first gap financing, we moved some dollars around because we didn't have as much quote unquote interest as we thought we should. But we want to make sure we still have some dollars there to try to assist if someone needs gap financing for a specific project. And then one of the main focuses that we're going to be focused on going forward, especially in 2022, is helping with startup home-based businesses in our SBK neighborhoods. So we want to invest in business development and startups, but we want to focus on Pacific area. We want to be strategic about this initiative and where these dollars are going and how we want to impact families in our major 3 neighborhoods. And so we'll be bringing more information back on that as well. United Way annual funding is still significant. And if you haven't seen in the paper, as I stated, the Kalamazoo Micro Enterprise Fund grant that we work with United Way pretty much approved 90 businesses for the grant funding. And that is a total of $450,000 that would be granted to small businesses in the city of Kalamazoo this year from that program. And so we may have some more we're going to work with. I'll be bringing something probably back to the commission for hopefully some additional dollars to help a number of businesses that will take us to that nice little sweet spot of 100. But stay tuned for that. But United Way has worked with assisting 90 small businesses, and these are micro businesses. That means businesses less than 10 employees to take advantage of this funding that this mayor and commissioners have approved to get into the community. Next slide. So you said, what does that mean and everything working with United Way? Well, what it means working with United Way, it opened up more doors and more opportunities for to reach not only more people, but also have additional arms towards economic development and growth initiatives beyond just the city of Kalamazoo, which is very important. We need more people working with our residents locally on business growth and development. So we've identified a number of other agencies that are listed here to work with us a little bit more on that business growth and development. The minority contractors training, that's just something we're going to be doing in-house. Melanie will be working with that to work with additional training for hopefully contractors and minority contractors specifically. We've always working with housing development, and first thing we hear is we can't find no minority contractors. We can't find no minority contractors. So we're stepping up as a city to say we're going to help some of our smaller minority contractors grow and expand and develop their businesses so that they can bid on some of these projects and be a part of some of these projects going forward. Because we got a lot of housing dollars that are coming that we're going to be putting into the community in the next 4 or 5 years, and we want to make sure that we kill the excuse that we can't find no minority contractors. We're going to be working with Black Wall Street, Kalamazoo, with their Black Entrepreneurship Training Program. We're going to be working with Can Do Kitchen with incubator growth and expansion of their presence in downtown. We're working on a mobile truck build out academy. We want to see, we think, at least this is my opinion, of that our Friday little luncheon that we have downtown with the food trucks has been successful. But I've been told we only have, it's either, and Melanie will be able to help me, either 33 food trucks in Kalamazoo or 33 food trucks in Kalamazoo County. That just saying 33 made me go like, what? How's that possible? And so we want to see in this small business growth and development, we want to see dollars going into creating more opportunities for Kalamazoo residents to hopefully have and develop a food truck business or a small business it could be a cart business. As everyone knows, you have little hot dog carts, you have other aspects. We wanted to see if we can get more of those type of businesses created here in Kalamazoo as well. And then we want to work with El Castellon to help with the growth of our Hispanic business growth here in Kalamazoo. A couple of years ago, we had a new grocery store, a Hispanic grocery store open up on Portage out by I-94. And it's beautiful and it was a great investment. We want to see more investment like that in Kalamazoo because we have such a diverse population, we want to see everyone have that opportunity, and we as a city want to invest into that possibility of growth and development as a business. Next slide, please. So just to help the community and mayor, vice mayor, and commissioners understand where dollars have been going and where they're going in the community with all these programming. As you can see, technical systems, white box, build out interior, remember, and then facade exterior. And so you have, as you can see, North Side, Edison, SBK neighborhoods, downtown, Stewart, Oakland, and then that's with technical assistance. Remember, that's technical assistance to invest in the business on with computers, technology, things like that, marketing, attorneys, accountants. That's what technical assistance focus on with business growth. And then white box, of course, that focuses on, of course, building out interiors of structures for business growth and expansion. And then facade is, as we've shown, that one picture shows the growth in business development into the exterior for presence there. Next slide, please. And then, what does that mean? Assistant provided by neighborhoods. As you look to the far right on this chart, you see East Side, out of the 3 items, the biggest component, the only component, has been facade. Now, we're going to try to adjust that as they going forward, but this will have an impact specifically with this facade initiative here on East Main Street. So East Main Street will look different in a year because of these facade dollars coming through economic development. It would change the presence of the look of the East Main Street area because of this investment that's going to be happening between now and next year with facade funding. But as you can see, if you go further back down to the left, North Side is pretty balanced. They have some facade. They have, of course, white box. They have technical assistance. Edison, similar. They have more technical assistance, more growth there, and then balance there. And then downtown, which I still count as the neighborhood as well. Pretty much you can see white box, build out of interior spaces. Sorry to say, in some areas where businesses have went out of business and businesses are coming in. Next slide, please. So demographics of this is real important as well. You got BIPOC, and its definition down there for what BIPOC is that you see technical assistance is the high point, and then others. And then you got white box, build out of interiors, it drops down, and then you got facade, even drops down more. The importance of this slide is that we have to, hopefully as a community, get more ownership of businesses, transitioning into ownership of property. So you have a lot of businesses that are growing, getting technical assistance, but they have not grown to that point in the BIPOC community where they're owning structures that they need to, quote unquote, invest in for expansion and growth. Hopefully this chart will start changing over the next 1.5 years, 2 years, that some of these businesses that we're helping grow in the BIPOC community, they start transitioning into us assisting them with building out spaces or helping them redirect the look of spaces with facade and white box funding. Next slide. So how we're going to track all this is going to be through Salesforce, pretty much database system that's going to assist us with putting together reports to share with the community and the mayor, vice mayor, and commissioners, so you understand not only where dollars are going, but also what businesses we're trying to assist on a regular basis. As I said, we're trying to help businesses expand and grow, but we want to maintain businesses, and this is important data that we need to track on who we're meeting with, what are they saying, how are we helping them, and how do we need to assist them going forward. As you look at this picture, this is a picture of Cosmos, and this is in Vine neighborhood. The importance of this picture is this was part of economic development initiative in the neighborhoods back when I was, it had less gray hair. And this was CDBG dollars that was invested in this business back in the day. And as everyone knows, Cosmos was just that building when it first started out. And it just grew and expanded. And now it's pretty much this is 20 years later almost, that this is still the heart of that little area. And everyone knows to go there, and they have great brunches, and they have great lunch, and you can sit outside on the deck. But it's one of those things that I tell our staff, this is what we want to see created in our neighborhoods, these small little nubs of great little small businesses that are not only expanding, but growing to serve the community, but also are all of a sudden being a destination for people that are visiting our community as well. Next slide. So in conclusion, as you can see here, and this $2.5 million also concludes what we're doing with United Way. We're looking at putting $2.5 million into this community and economic development one way or another, with all these quote unquote investments of growth and development for business retention and growth. And hopefully we will have impacts like Cosmo and others in our neighborhoods in Edison, Northside, and Vine, and hopefully see our corridor start taking advantage of these opportunities that we're bringing forth. And hopefully next year that 2.5 turns into 3.5, 4.5, and we'll continue working with the Foundation for Excellence to reinvest into the residents of this community so that they have not only the opportunity, but hopefully the equity of possibilities for growth and development here in the city. Next slide. And that is City Hall. So any questions for me and Melanie?
Questions for staff from the commission? Do you want to take down the screen sharing? There we go. Right, Commissioner Cunningham.
Thank you for the presentation. Real quick, can I receive, or I guess it's a question, but can I get that data as it pertains to BIPOC ownership, business ownership? Okay.
Yeah, we can provide what we have right now. We're still developing our list, our database, but we can provide what we have right now.
Well, you were talking about land ownership and the reason why facade isn't really happening in that realm. So that particular data that you were referencing, if you can provide me with that.
Okay.
And then I guess my other question is, and it's kind of doubling down what you kind of spoke to, and this is, I guess, more so for the public, due to recent events on the east side of Kalamazoo. There, a lot of statements that have come out of the community is there's a lack of investment in the east side. It seems like other sides of town receive those supports financially. And when it comes to youth, same thing, other sides of town are receiving those type of support. And I know that's not really your realm, but just want to give a narrative of the whole conversation that I'm hearing in the community. Can you kind of speak to that again? Just elaborating on that piece.
Yes. So, and that's a good point. And we did pay attention to that as city staff. And so the last 2 years, we've been working with the Eastside Neighborhood Association with Pat Taylor to look into how do we get more dollars, in this case on the economic development side, how do we get more dollars into the community over there? And so this is an ongoing initiative that we're working with Ms. Taylor, and hopefully that neighborhood association is trying to do some other investments as well in this area for economic development. But we have Melanie, is it four or five businesses that are taking advantage of a facade program four on East Main Street. And then there's also an initiative with some investment into the street as well, with curb and lights and things like that. So over the next year and a half, the east side, at least that corridor of East Main Street, will look totally different in the next year and a half. And we're going to be hopefully working with the East Side Neighborhood Association to do other investments in economic development, but we also, on my other hat, also being community still.
Antonio, do you also want to mention the site acquisition grant that we gave to Eastside?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, it's another $275,000 that the commission approved last year to give the Eastside Neighborhood Association dollars to purchase property on East Main Street as well. So that was another initiative we sustained.
Right. And they're at this time as a board making the decision on Pacific site that we're looking at possibly working with them to develop. So, and of course, that'll be back come to the commission for that that information and that amendment to the existing agreement to hopefully help them with that investment. And that will be on the East Main Street as well on that corridor by the neighborhood association.
Thank you
And we
for,
should also, I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you for that update and insight. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that we should also recognize our partners that are doing work on East Main as well. We've got a lovely new building built by Youth Christ over there that is running programs. Appreciate the work they're doing. I know that our former Deputy City Manager, Patsy Moore, is on the board of that entity doing that work. And and the Kalamazoo County Land Bank is working there as well. So it's good to be working in that space with our with a wide breadth of community partners. Other questions for city staff from commission? Commissioner Pradel.
Anybody else that has anything to, feel free to jump in front of me. I just wanted to share some comments too, if you don't mind. I've just talked to a few small businesses, and the $5,000 micro grants have been huge for small business. I think the first inclination is you think of a small business and think that, you know, $5,000 is a drop in the bucket. But when you look at what you can actually accomplish with $5,000 when you're a small business, it is quite significant. And so I've heard pretty positive feedback on that. I did have a question for you. I have heard some feedback from people about the 1 year requirement. And I was just kind of curious about what the rationale is behind that. The tricky part about the 1 year thing is that in 2020, when the pandemic was happening, a lot of those businesses were ineligible for PPP loans because forgivable loans, because they didn't have the 1 year track record to look back on to show like a comparison of years. And, you know, and also just kind of knowing that a lot of small businesses, you know, if they're going to fail within the first year is oftentimes some of the most pivotal time periods for success. So I was just kind of curious about, you know, the rationale for excluding that 1 year period.
Pretty much, Commissioner Prado, thank you for the question. It fits into what, as you stated, is that track record of information that we want to see and have to verify not only what the business is doing, but what they're trying to do and where we need help and what they're asking for assistance. We are looking at, it'll probably be next year's acts for FFE. So FFE board, if you're watching, we'll be back to you next year to really focus on startup business development beyond the neighborhoods. So we want to focus on our SBK neighborhoods with that business growth and development, but then we want to hopefully grow to working with that startup range. And so where you're at, Commissioner Prado, that 2 months to 8 months to 12 months, that business, helping those businesses sustain themselves and grow. So we'll be able to put them in that parameter and assist them. But we want to, sorry to say, we want to focus on our SBK neighborhoods first to get them started and growing, because the key factor here, which I want to make this importantly clear to the public and our small businesses, is that 1 year window is where you want to be. You want to be active. You want to be doing what you want, you say you're doing, because as Commissioner Perry brought up, that makes you eligible for that $5,000 with us, but it also makes you eligible for the $5,000 with United Way as well. So now you're eligible for $10,000 to assist your small business and growth development. And you can't get that every year. You have to have a space you can go every other year. But just think, if we're showing success and we're helping businesses, FFE can help us keep reinvesting into small business growth and development for years to come, because we're having the impact we're trying to have not only on quote unquote businesses, but families in these neighborhoods. So Commissioner Prado, you are correct. We're moving in that direction, but we first need to quote unquote designate specific areas we want to see some growth, but then expand that opportunity beyond just those neighborhoods, because part of our initiative here is equity growth in those neighborhoods. And so that's going to be a priority. And then we're going to move beyond those neighborhoods into the rest of the community.
I think that's really exciting. And, I mean, it's neat just to kind of emphasize the fact that it's just about retention and expansion, but also about startup. And I think that startup component, I mean, kudos to you and your team and the team at the city for having the foresight about this significant investment in 2022, because this is a huge opportunity for us. And if we don't jump on it now, coming through the pandemic, there's so many people who are, kind of having this wake up moment and saying, I don't want to work for somebody anymore. I want to start my own, or, or they're in a situation where they don't have any choice but to start their own business. And so to be able to help, families and individuals, start from home. And then you're going to hear people who are going to say things like, well, what about investing in those brick and mortar locations? Why are we investing in food trucks and people who are working on their business? Well, let's not forget businesses like Microsoft started in a garage, right?
Yes.
And, you look at a company like Kalamazoo Candle Company, that started in a home too. And now they not only have a huge manufacturing complex, but they have a brick and mortar location, and they expanded into South Haven with their Kalamazoo brand. So, it's exciting to see, and people have to keep an eye on, I think, the long-term, impact by making these kind of investments on all those fronts. So hats off to you guys for this vision and for that list of programming for 2022. I did have one more feedback piece, if you don't mind.
Yes.
So in terms of like the contractor trainings, I hear a lot from a lot of my partners in housing that, those are so needed and such great, awesome programs. But one of the gaps that we find that exists quite oftentimes with a lot of contractors who are coming out of the trainings is the gap between the training and the actual, getting into business or being ready to work for somebody. And a lot of times that it might include the licensure, the licensing that's required to do that. Sometimes it might just be the small business support or legal advice on, creating your own LLC, or, having, accident fund insurance, workers' compensation insurance and those sort of things. And so, I just would really encourage, if there's any opportunities, to try to think really hard about that gap between the training and the actual, like, getting into the force. I think that's pivotal, and it's a missing piece. And we have seen in some of my work where there are individuals who kind of just stop because they've gone through the training, but then there's other hurdles to go through that there might not be the available additional training or expertise to get to the final step, if that makes any sense.
Yes, and just to piggyback what you're talking about, Commissioner Prado, is that we're working with the Kalamazoo Home Builders Associations to make some adjustments. And that's been the great thing about the FFE dollars and working with the Foundation for Excellence, is that they understand we're making adjustments as we assist people. So pretty much the contractor program started a year ago, and we went so far. And then, like you said, Commissioner Prado, other things came up. We need more of this. So now we're able to make more adjustments, provide the FFE more information on why we're making those adjustments and what the need is, and then step forward and keep moving forward. So next year, hopefully we'll ask for the dollars again, and we'll probably make more adjustments to assist those businesses going forward. So the good thing about, because of the flexibility, the FFE dollars, we can keep making adjustments once we find out what the needs are and what the barriers are, and then we can start knocking those down. So thank you for that information.
Thanks you guys for the presentation. This is great, very exciting work, and excited to see it all come together for 2022.
And Chris, that's a great point. It's 2022, so you haven't approved that budget yet.
No, you haven't approved it.
Yeah, it's just, this is our projection, and that's our ask for 2022. So that would be for the Foundation for Excellence dollars as well. This is all very future talk. So,
so I'll be back every month talking about this until y'all approve the budget.
Getting a head start there.
Yes.
Team. Okay. Commissioner Urban.
Yes, I applaud all of this that is being done. It's so much at the front end, in the planning stage and the proposal stage. And I think as these things that get approved and bear fruit, it's going to be real important that the successes that we have from this get widely publicized, because I'm a little worried that some aspects of the business community may start to question the established business community, shall we say, the people that are already running their shows, already running their businesses. Don't like competition. And they might look at some things that we are doing and question whether that's appropriate for the city to, for example, make loans. Could you distinguish between making grants and making loans? And what are the criteria that the city has to operate under to be sure that we're in conformance with state law in those regards?
Yes. So we used to make loans. We're not making loans anymore. So that's one thing. We moved the loan process outside of us to United Way to assist in that process, so that they can have additional platform to assist with that process. So now we're only doing grants, and we're doing pretty much developmental grants. So, and that's the key. So either we're developing property or we're developing people. It's one or the other. And so we're investing into, hopefully in the case of for the mayor, commissioner, and vice mayor, we're investing in the property so our tax base grows. Because if everyone doesn't know, we have a lot of tax base that's not on let's say, the docket. And so we have to invest in existing properties and hopefully existing people that live here to increase not only the business presence, but also the property growth and development as well. So pretty much our money is usually, sorry to say, a very small amount, but it triggers hopefully a growth investment into a property that, like in the case of our facade grant, is $25,000, but the investment in the overall project is maybe $250,000.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's a small piece of the pie that creates a humongous investment in that area of growth and development. And so that's our focus. So if existing businesses saying, you guys are doing all this, we're doing this to create a stronger economic environment around you, so that when people feel like safe coming there, but are drawn to that area of investment and development.
Well, it makes me smile when I think about how closely you are attuned to what the needs are, because it's so easy for people from a distance to think, oh, this is what they need, and then they start to apply it, and it's not what they need, and they need something else. And for what I've noticed so far from what you and your staff are doing is you have a close touch to what the real needs are, not what we imagine the needs are. But as these needs get fulfilled, especially in the people investment, people investment doesn't show up in structures that people can see, like I helped build this new church. Here's this great big building that's out here where everybody can see. When you're working in developing people, sometimes there's nothing you can see about it. And people say, where did all that money go? So please, I'm urging you, as you do all this work, and I'm going to, whatever you have done in this area, I want you to continue, is be sure that you get the word out to how this is helping people, what difference it makes in a way that is you can't thump your chest too much, because it doesn't look real. So there's you got to be careful. But for the stuff that's real, be sure people know about it. It's wonderful for people to realize what we're doing, actually, what we're basically, so as you say, proposing to do, can make a difference. Because I wish it success.
Yes, Commissioner, and hopefully as I bring up in the last slide, the Salesforce data tracking, we'll be able to give you more reports and share that with the community on, like I said, the impact of this with employment, with investment, and things like that, so that you guys not only have this information, but the community sees what's happening as well. Because sorry to say, we didn't have a tool to track a lot of that quote unquote investment in years past that we hopefully will have now going forward.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Urban. Other questions from Commission Commissioner Hess.
Just really briefly, Antonio, thank you for this presentation. I appreciate the work you do on behalf of everyone. I believe that our growth definitely needs to be inclusive and holistic. And I believe that we must serve the needs of the community. And when you talk about trucks, it's not just food trucks. I've had the trucks here at my house, the electricians, the plumbers, the painters, all of those kind of contractors that Commissioner Pradel spoke about are just necessary in our community. And I for one, would be interested in publicizing more the opportunities for growth in the contracting services. But I wonder, my brief question, are you helping those folks who are now certified work with like the Small Business Development Center? Are we including other community resources in addition to city resources to help people move their businesses along?
Melanie was nodding her head. I could answer, but I'm gonna let Melanie answer.
Yeah, we are. Thank you, Commissioner. So that was a really good question. I did want to kind of mention, because Commissioner Pareto mentioned earlier about the Contractor Group. This group is a dynamic, amazing group. It's one of my favorite programs of this job. Just this group, we've been meeting monthly. It's anywhere from, the total group is like 40 people, and they're all mostly Black contractors from our core neighborhoods. They're excited. They're just excited to have a space together to work and to trust each other. We've been working on a vision, a community vision together on what we want to do. It's a really special group, and we have different speakers that were coming. So like you said, Commissioner Pareto, like tying other supports to this group is really important. From our former Dwayne Powell, who started this group, he was really pushed wraparound services. So like anything like tutoring, sponsoring, while they're going through the training, and then after, to learn business skills, working with the SBDC. That's exactly what we need. So thank you for mentioning that again. That's really important. And Commissioner Hess-Too, I think I answered your question, but yeah, that if both of you are interested in attending those meetings, we meet once a month. The Home Builders Association also sponsors like a meeting once a month as well, like as a space to chat. So
I'd love to attend, Melody. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll share more information on with all the commissioners and the mayor if you want to show up and attend. And
Sure.
I think it's important that you heard Melanie say 40 small businesses. 40 small businesses. So we have the opportunity to work with 40 businesses to help them grow, expand, and invest in them as individuals and their business. So that they, like Commissioner said, so they can get them a truck, a utility truck, and get all their equipment in there and buy ladders and things like that. So that grant can buy some of those things that can help them get a nice little skin on their van or their truck for advertisement and things like that. So we're really excited. Melanie's more excited than me, of course, because she's working with them. But you have 40 businesses that you get to really focus on in our community to grow and expand, and that's just one industry. That's just one industry. That's just in the construction industry. So we're really excited. We see the opportunities, and we look forward to talking to the mayor, vice mayor, and commissioners more in the future about not only what's happening, but the effect of all this investment.
Many of those businesses too, I'll mention that they just did apply for that grant through United Way. I met with probably 10 in person, help them fill out their application. So I think we'll be able to see some data from that when United Way reports back to you, Antonio, soon about the numbers.
Correct. And we'll share the report you saw during COVID, where we was providing the data and the data sheets from United Way. It'll be a similar report, probably another month or so, that we'll be able to bring back to the commission on the impact of working with those 90 businesses, similar to reports we pass along to the mayor, vice mayor, and commissioners in the past during COVID on what is the impact of those United Way dollars. So hopefully, like Melanie said, you should see a better impact of diversity investment with those dollars in this report going forward. This has been a priority for us and United Way going forward.
Thank you. Yeah, Melody, for me as well, being a licensed residential builder, there's a special place in my heart for people that do that building work. It's all about building the community, and that's how we're going to get it done. Manager Ritzma.
Yeah, I love the discussion here, but we have another topic to cover.
Yes.
It's pushing 6 o'clock. So
yes,
this is exactly what a call is for, though, this type of topic. So thank you, Mr. Mitchell and Ms. Dakin and Rebecca Kick, or Ms. Kick, for this great topic. And we look forward to more to come. So appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate being here with us, and we're looking forward to great further discussion on this topic. Bring some optimism to the table, and I like that a great deal. Manager Ritzma, take us away on our next topic.
All right. So we we are coming back today to talk more about returning to in-person meetings, and we've got a brief presentation. We want to just summarize what we had as recommendations at the last meeting, the July 6th meeting, but we don't want to really dwell on that. The remaining part of the presentation focuses on what I call decision points or discussion points that we need consensus on from the commission to move forward. And then we will, based on that input, we will come back with a action for the commission to take for us to come back into in-person meetings with proper protocols. So I appreciate commissioners for their input over the last couple of weeks. So try to incorporate a lot of that into these questions and decision points. So if Deputy City Manager Chamberlain could put the presentation up. So next slide. So real quick, on July 6th, we came with a set of recommendations surrounding in-person meetings regarding City Commission, but we also have other boards and commissions as well. I really want to hone in tonight on City Commission meetings, and we'll have to come back for boards and commissions because we need to know what we're going to do with City Commission meetings because the emergency act that you took earlier this year expires the end of August. So we want to touch on social distancing and mask requirements and all of those. We did, and in our recommendation, follow the CDC guidelines, but we want to know if there's other things that we should be looking at. Also interested in City Attorney Robinson's interpretation of what we can do relative to some of these areas. So he'll be available for that as well. Next slide. We also covered what we would like to do regarding streaming meetings. So we want to continue streaming on PMN, Facebook, and YouTube. And we want to allow for in-person public comments and also call-in public comments. We're suggesting live for the public call-in comments. So that would be during the comment period. No longer playing pre-recorded comments like we have been. And I should note that staff did check with other cities that are returning to in-person meetings, and many have no social distancing requirement. Masks are only required for non-vaccinated persons, and most are not taking call-in public comments. But they are continuing to live stream their meetings. Okay, first item. This is basically dictates when we need to have decisions made and actions brought before the commission. So right now, the current emergency order, as I said, expires the end of August. It allows for virtual meetings. Now the county was considering whether to move their expiration up from December 31st, but my understanding is they kept their emergency order in place until the end of this year, December 31st. So the question on this one is, should the Kalamazoo emergency order be extended to December 31, 2021, if possible? So if yes, then we'd need a resolution to that effect. If no, we need to plan must be in place by August 16th meeting. So 2 meetings from now. So I thought it would be good at this point to ask Attorney Robinson just to share some thoughts, and then we can solicit feedback from commissioners. Again, the idea here is not taking official up-down votes, but more consensus-based from the commission and for each of these items. Attorney Robinson.
Thank you, City Manager Ritzma. The issue is we have at least under the present state of the law, the ability to declare a state of emergency. My concern is that there should be facts that would support that declaration. And to some degree, there may be. The strength of the Delta variant to the the COVID-19 virus may provide you sufficient rationale to extend the emergency order. That's my real concern is that since the state has basically has not issued any emergency order, in fact, has basically shut them or repealed them, there's really not much that in terms of factual basis to continue a state of emergency. With a few exceptions, the state has said there's no mask mandate. Public gatherings can still occur, and in fact, there is no restrictions on those gatherings. So the argument could be made that why is there still a state of emergency? Given the strength of the Delta variant, I think that an argument could be made that that still exists. On the other hand, at least according to the news media, well over 95% of the people who are suffering from that variant are not vaccinated. And the other problem, of course, comes in if we do go to face-to-face meetings and we say, well, you have to wear a mask if you are not vaccinated. The problem is, how do you enforce that? How do you know whether an individual is or is not vaccinated? Then the other concern that could be raised by an individual who says, well, you're kind of outing me, if you will, by requiring me to wear a mask to identify to everybody else in the room that I've chosen for whatever reason not to be vaccinated. So those are some of the problematic issues that come with either extending the state of emergency or returning to face-to-face meetings and trying to accommodate the public who may be present.
Thanks, Attorney Robinson. So before the commission is there any interest in looking at extending the order? And again, I'll just say based on, the Delta variant and where we are relative to that and, coming back to in-person gatherings. So Mayor, just put that out there for commissioners.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Manager Ritzma. Just that's a good thing to discuss. I know that Commissioner Knott did have some specific concerns related to this, and she's unable to join us this evening.
Yeah.
That's accurate?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm sorry we're missing her input on this. Just general thoughts about this proposal, commissioners? I cannot, with the screen sharing, I can't see everybody all the time, so.
Mayor, it's Jean Hess.
Yeah, hi, Commissioner Hess.
Yeah, briefly, so there's a few things. There's still a possibility with the Delta variant to go back to full masking indoors regardless. That's a possibility if we do go back to in-person. I did some looking, and right now Kalamazoo is at 61.6 vaccinated rate. And I think, Attorney Robinson said that is it up to 98% of the folks that are hospitalized right now are unvaccinated. However, as a vaccinated person, I can also carry it. So, and be a part of the transmission stream. I'd be concerned about that in a close indoor environment. Attorney Robinson, is it possible that, people show their cards, their vaccination cards with ID to get into the meetings or to get into the meetings unmasked? Or do we just say everybody masked at the meetings? If we were going to go back, I would want to make sure it's safe. I've had some communication from constituents. The outbreaks of Delta this fall will be devastating for communities across America, especially communities with large college populations such as ours. And I know that Kalamazoo College is requiring a vaccine. I'm unsure about Western or KVCC. So I have concerns. I would love to be back in person. I want us to be safe. I want our community to keep each other safe and not fill up our hospitals like they have been. So that's my 2 cents. We are not yet at 70% in our community.
Thank you, Commissioner Heth. Manager Rissman.
Yeah, so I appreciate those comments. So I've broken this out by decision point. So the first one here is whether to extend the emergency order. Once we get some guidance on that, that'll dictate how much time we have to work on these other things that commissioners are wondering about, such as vaccination, mask wearing, and all of that. So
that's helpful, Manager Rissman. So point number one is there an openness to considering the possibility of extending our emergency order, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I know that Attorney Robinson, you were suggesting, is there enough of an emergency, I guess, quotes, to justify that extension? Could that be challenged? You know, is that something we could literally just decide ourselves, or do you think there could be some issues with that?
Well, anything can be challenged. However, there is a doctrine in which courts will generally defer to a legislative determination made by a legislative body, because that's really what that kind of involves a separation of powers. Unless there is no rational reason for that decision, a court is unlikely to overturn a legislative determination. And to that end, as I said, the concern that and has just been outlined by Commissioner Hess, we are a college town. We do have, we have only like 65, 66% of the population in the county vaccinated. And as the news media has reported, this Delta variant is basically limited to, at least in terms of getting sick, to the unvaccinated portion of our community. That's really where the pandemic exists now. But as Commissioner Hess indicated, even though you've got the vaccine, you still might be able to carry the Delta variant and unintentionally infect somebody else, even though you may not get sick yourself. So those are good rationales for coming to the conclusion, until we know more about how this COVID, until there's increased vaccination rates in the county, and until we know better in terms of how this Delta variant is going to behave, maybe safety is the path to take in terms of preventing the public, members of the staff, and commissioners from getting ill. And by extending the state of emergency until the end of the year. And again, that authority under the Open Meetings Act expires at the end of the year. You can't go beyond December 31st. So we'll have to grapple with that as we get closer to January 1st, perhaps.
Thanks, Attorney Robinson. Commissioner Urban? You're muted.
To help me understand, Mayor Anderson, the criteria for extending the emergency order within the city of Kalamazoo, I would like to see a time plot of hospitalizations for COVID-19 in our local hospitals. I know Bronson publishes that online, or at least it has been. And that would give us kind of a history of where we've been and where we are now. So that's one metric that I want to have a look at. The other one is the current vaccination percentage percentage of people vaccinated in the county, or at least in the city. I guess it has to be in the county because that's how the information is collected. And if we could devise a quantitative rule that says if the vaccination rate reaches, say, 70% and the hospitalization rate is lower than X number of beds, that at the beginning of the following month, the emergency order would be lifted. That way, we're working on an objective basis, and we don't look like we're being arbitrary and just being either too reckless or too skittish. We think about it and say, this is what we think as a community is safe. That would help me a lot to be on a quantitative basis here.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Urban. So just because if we did choose to move ahead and authorize an extension of the emergency order does not require us, to, meet remotely till the end of that. We still have choices, and those choices can be driven by data, Commissioner Urban. Yeah. I think at this moment, what we need to do just for Commissioner for Manager Ritzma is that literally, if we don't give some direction here, then we're running out of time. The decision is going to be made for us because our executive order, our own order related to this ends in 2 meetings, end of August. So what would the steps be if we were going to extend that, Manager Ritzma?
I believe once we got the guidance, then it would be up to Attorney Robinson to bring that action back for.
Would that be 2 meetings?
No, that could be done in 1 meeting. It's a resolution, and I would probably 1 or 2 things, either draft a whole new resolution or adopt language that would extend the current resolution. One of those 2 options would, and because it's a resolution, not an ordinance, you can do it in 1 meeting.
Okay. Manager Ritzma, more.
I think the Vice Mayor had.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right up.
Hi, Vice Mayor Griffin.
Thank you, Manager Risman. Thank you, Mayor Anderson. I just have a question for a point of clarification for Attorney Robinson. Extending this the state of emergency would allow for commissioners to remain at home and or allow for whoever wanted to be in person should we go into hybrid meetings and not exclusively virtual. Is that correct?
That's an option. Yeah, right. That is correct. You can do either one.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Pradel.
Sorry, Vice Mayor. I'm not sure I understood the question. I just wanted to make sure I understand what you were asking. So you were asking if we extended December 31st, that would be the way that we need to make sure that somebody can remain virtual even though we're in person?
As I understood the question, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vice Mayor Griffin, was that would give an opportunity for a version of a hybrid meeting. Is that accurate, which would allow perhaps remote participation by a member of the commission?
Yes, Mayor Anderson and Commissioner Pradel, that is the clarity. I'm wondering if that gives us the most space to try to figure out, should someone who's on this commission want to be in person, to allow for that in-person opportunity along with the hybrid, will extending that emergency order do so? And or allow for us to remain completely virtual through the end of December?
Commissioner Pradel, yes.
So Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor, so my understanding then, this is a question for Clyde. So if we were to vote to go back in person, that means that, so if we were to vote to go back in person in August, that means that we couldn't have a commissioner call in or be somehow remote.
That's a nuanced answer.
No, that's not the case. There are 3, and maybe I was too quick in answering the Vice Mayor's question, but the answer was a yes or no. If you went to a hybrid, you still have to probably make some adjustments or amendments to your resolution, to your meeting rules. Because where would the quorum of commissioners be present? You got 7 people. So if 3 of you met here in City Hall and 4 met remotely, there's not a quorum here at City Hall. So you ostensibly could do that. The other question is, where does the public come into this in terms of how do they participate? As opposed to having 4 commissioners at City Hall and say 3 commissioners remoting in to participate in the meeting. Again, that is pretty easy. That is the hybrid meeting, and that calls into operation one of the 3 exceptions. The 3 exceptions under the Open Meetings Act are: number 1, state of emergency. You can meet virtually. Number 2, if you've got a concern for a medical condition of ostensibly one of the members of the public body who've got concerns that by participating in person, I have a condition or there is some risk to myself in either participating, or I present a risk to others by participating. So it's the medical condition. Those 2 exceptions expire at the end of the year. The 3rd exception is you're an individual on military service and you want to remote in and participate virtually. That existed prior to the COVID crisis and will continue to exist after December 31st. So,
Commissioner Cunningham.
So the hybrid model, makes the most sense to me, but I have a clarifying question. You mentioned the quorum. So how does, for a quorum, how does that work with the voting? So you're saying that's some type of obstacle that we're going to deal with if we have a quorum at home versus a quorum in person?
Add them together.
Right. That's where it gets kind of tricky. I mean, like I said, where does the quorum exist? Under the state of emergency and everybody meeting virtually, the quorum exists because the law says you don't have to meet in a physical place in order to have a quorum. You don't have to have 4 members in a identifiable physical space. Now, when you go to a hybrid, that raises the question in terms of, okay, if we're operating under the emergency, really does it make sense for commissioners to appear in City Hall, let's say a sub-quorum, 3 at most, who sit there on the dais, and you got 4 other commissioners, a quorum of the body, who are participating virtually. You could do that. The question then becomes, who chairs the meeting? Can you do that by remote? Or do you want to have somebody present physically in City Hall? And the other question becomes is, what do you do with members of the public who may want to come to City Hall to participate publicly that way? I mean, I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just that you have to think through some of the various permutations and mutations of how that works.
Manager Ritzma.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is another topic coming up, one of our decision points, and I understand these are all related, so I was trying to give some structure on how to work through this. So I guess the question right now is extending the order or not. We presented a hybrid option last time. It would be my expectation that would be in place at least till the end of the year as we can. But the question right now is, do we need to extend the emergency order?
Commissioner Urban on that topic?
Yes, on that topic. I would say to maximize our flexibility, I would say let's extend the emergency order till December. That gives us the option of meeting in person if we want to, and we can still meet virtually as long as we feel it's not safe to meet in person. So it seems pretty straightforward to just make a resolution to extend the emergency order to the end of the year, and then we match up with whatever the state does.
Thank you, Commissioner Urban. And just for clarity, because I know you've been meeting with the city manager in Portage and with administrator at the county manager Ritzma. Do you know what the plans are for those two bodies?
I think Portage is already meeting in person, probably some sort of hybrid. Everyone else is operating under their county's emergency order, to my knowledge. So we're the only one that has a separate emergency order, as I understand it.
Okay. Well, you know, this is not a venue where we vote on things. I know we all know that, but just to remind anybody who's participating. But I think if I were to get a sense of the consensus here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, maybe at this point, there's probably a general comfort with the idea of extending our emergency order here and suggesting the staff prepare that. And then that would still give us time, you know, to address all the other issues that we might want to address related to hybrid or spikes or whatever else may be going on. Is that an inaccurate assessment, do you think, Commissioner Pradel?
Yeah, I think my only reservation would be just that, you know, the public doesn't get the impression that somehow we're just trying to ride out the clock to the very, you know, last date possible in 2021. If it's necessary, you know, say if there's a huge surge in Delta or whatever, it gives us that flexibility to do so. Or it's also nice because it gives us the flexibility that if we do come in person, that we can go back to virtual if we need to, if there were to be like a local surge or something. But, you know, the other thing that I think is important to show people is a timeline of our plan to get back. So, you know, I don't think it's right to just kind of leave people hanging and wondering, you know, when is it going to happen? Because I think it's going to breed concern or question about what are our real motivations for doing this. And, you know, I think we can fairly make the case that there's a good enough case to do so based on, like, you know, potential health risk conditions. But I think we need to be really cognizant and thoughtful about how we, you know, make sure people understand this doesn't mean that we are necessarily going to ride it out till December just because we're extending it to December 31st. And then secondly, like what are we showing people, you know, good faith that we're making the efforts to come back in a timely way.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Commissioner Urban?
Well, that brings us back to perhaps between now and our next meeting, people can meet with or consult with the health experts in town and devise a proposed criterion for ending virtual meetings. It involves percent vaccinated and the trend of hospitalizations. That would show that we have a plan going forward, but we keep with what we've got for now. That seems that would meet what I think is Commissioner Pradel's concern. Is it just we need to do something to convince people that we're not just riding out the clock and that we are being objective about what we do.
Manager Ritzma.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, you know, my intent or goal is to come back in person, you know, when we can, you know, considering all the facts and everything. I think
we can't.
And if we get through these other decision items, we can, I think, come back with, when this action is brought before you about extending the order, we can come back with a tentative timeline, because some of these other issues we need to work out, given, you know, how they play into protocols and everything else. So if we can just keep going based on the notion that we're going to extend the order, is that fair, safe? Okay.
So that's helpful then, Manager Ritzma?
Yes, thank you. And we'll bring that back. So if we can go back to the presentation, thank you. Next. So this one touches on mandates regarding should the Kalamazoo mandate social distancing and masks beyond what is required by the CDC and state guidelines at public meetings. The city attorney already raised this, you know, how would it be enforced? And so that's the next protocol that needs to be, we need to receive input on. mask wearing and social distancing.
Remind me, I know you shared your slide deck here with us. How many decisions?
Okay, so there are, right now, there's 4 more beyond this.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll, if you could just walk through DCM Chamberlain, just so we know what we're going to be talking about. Next one is continue call-in public comments. Based on the input I've received, I think the expectation is we will continue that. So that might be a short topic. Again, streaming, I think our expectation is to stream. So for the commission, where this will need to be addressed more is expectation of the 30 some other boards and commissioners that commissions that we have. And the streaming does take some staff resources to do. So again, we can return to that one beyond this meeting. So and then finally is what we just talked about, can commissioners meet virtually? So those are the things we're looking at tonight. And then I've just got some follow-up things that I can go through, real quickly and just show that we're considering some other things that we received input on. So.
So one thing I want to be helpful in terms of our discussion feedback here from Manager Risma, but also I do want to respect the fact that we have a business meeting at 7, and we might want a little break before that to have a snack or do some push-ups or whatever it is we want to do to get ready for that. So yes, Manager Risma.
Knowing that will be extending the emergency order, we can come back and revisit these items. At the next cow, or continue where we left off here, and it's really getting that emergency order extended that we needed to know for sure tonight, so we had enough time to do that.
Okay. Commissioner Urban? You're muted, Commissioner.
Well, it looks like at least 2 of those decision points are pretty much moot, I would say. We don't need to spend much time on those. But what we could do is we could just write down our opinion about those and send them into the city manager, and he can just collect them. And that could serve as advice to begin our next meeting. And we just continue this discussion on these things and resolve maybe almost all of them pretty quickly at our next meeting. I think the one that needs the most discussion is the last one, but it's probably the least urgent also. So hopefully that's helpful.
Not sure if we can vote by mail like that, but
well, it's not a vote, it's a suggestion. It's a suggestion that we just pass to the city manager. We get to discuss it, we deliberate on it at a subsequent meeting.
I would, the city attorney here, I'm sorry, my computer froze. And so it's kind of like I've got one of the older ones in the office, so it's a little engine that could. Be that as it may, if you act on Commissioner Urban's suggestion, you do run really against the Open Meetings Act. The only way to do that is to make sure that those whatever's sent in are made public, and that creates its own set of problems. So I would not recommend that approach.
Commissioner Praedel.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. If we were to vote to respond, like just in response to an email from Jim, I think it'd be a great idea to consolidate all the responses and then, submit it out in a media release or, publish it on our site or something. But, I think we can cover things probably pretty effectively doing this. But one of the things that I just, especially because Commissioner Knott's not here, that I just want to make sure to emphasize is for me, and this is just me speaking, me personally, a deal breaker for me, irregardless of the scenario, is that there is not an option for people with health concerns who serve on commission, whether it be them as an individual or somebody within their household, or anybody who's on city staff whose health or well-being could be at risk, that they feel safe enough to be able to tell you, I have some concerns, I need an alternative option so I can be a part of this meeting and do my job. So, that would be for me something that's really important, regardless of the route that we go. And I think, probably Commissioner Knott would emphasize that as well if she was here as well. So I just wanted to make sure to share that.
Manager Ritzma, are you receiving the amount of feedback that you feel that you need at this point, or
Yeah.
Would you like
I think there's enough here to bring back and talk about, and next meeting would be fine for that. The next cow, we'll carve out some more time. One thing that I didn't cover in the slides, but I wanted to mention is we continue to work with public safety on personal safety at meetings. So that's ongoing as well. It's a little more difficult to talk about security items publicly, but we will, make sure that all the protocols are in place to keep all the public, all the commission, and all the staff that are present at meetings safe. So.
Thanks, Manager Ritzman. At this point, I'm going to move to commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments for the committee of the whole? Vice Mayor Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. I was just wondering if we can have some follow-up with that first comment that came in with respects to the budget and auditing. If we can get follow-up on that, and then if there will be space for follow-up for what's happening at the North Mall. I just want to acknowledge those comments that came in about those, well, all of the comments, but just specifically for follow-up on those.
Very important. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Cunningham.
What was the name on the person who made the first comment? Was that Tamara Mitchell? I didn't catch it.
This is Vice Mayor Griffin. I believe it was Tamara Mitchell.
Tamara Mitchell. Okay. Yeah, I second those requests by Vice Mayor Griffin. The other piece would be, I just wanted to highlight, I know that Melody is no longer on, Dakin is on this this Zoom meeting right now, but her and Paul Thuringer have been doing an amazing job with the Cannabis Committee. Our task right now is to review applications and approve or deny for the year. And so just a heads up to this body, as I may not be on the commission in the next year, that some of those changes and recommendations may be coming back for some ordinance changes to strengthen our policy and make sure that we're dotting the I and crossing the T. So I just wanted to really take the time to highlight the good work that they've been doing and some of the creativity initiatives that they've been bringing to the table. I think is amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Good information, Commissioner Cunningham. Any other comments for the good of the order for the committee of the whole? All right, seeing none at this point, we will see each other in about 20 minutes for our regular business meeting. Please, those of you that are interested in watching, stick around for that. There's a long agenda for our business meeting this evening. We are adjourned.